ALS, Alternative Learning Systems.
India-US dispute at WTO regarding the renewable energy case, and in this particular dispute India won the case in WTO, a major victory for India, considering the fact that Americans were putting a lot of pressure on India related to various protection given by India for the Indian companies. So similarly, we are countering the Americans by questioning their protection in their country. Thereby, that is how this WTO case was there, and ultimately we won the case and we proved that Americans are also violating the WTO and the GATT, General Agreement on Trade and Tariff, GATT agreements. So that is what this particular issue. So the WTO has given the verdict in favor of India. So in a WTO dispute resolution panel, they have ruled in favor of India in a case against the US, saying that America's domestic content requirements and subsidies provided by 8 of its states in the renewable energy sector are violative of the global trade norms. So their subsidies and the requirement that the content should be procured from US or from their region only is violative of the global trade norms according to the WTO panel. So the panel concluded in its ruling that the measures of the US are inconsistent with certain provisions of GATT, General Agreement on Tariffs and Trade, GATT, and the US has nullified or impaired the benefits accruing to India under that agreement. So the US action is nullifying and impairing the benefits accruing to the Indians under the GATT agreement. So the ruling stated that 10 measures implemented by the US pertaining to renewable energy sector are inconsistent with its obligation under GATT 1994. So what is the case? So the case is related a September 2016 case. India dragged the US to WTO dispute settlement mechanism over America's domestic content requirements and subsidies provided by 8 states in the renewable energy sector, including states like Washington, California, Montana, Massachusetts, Connecticut, Michigan, Delaware, Minnesota. All these states were providing or insisting on certain domestic requirements. For example, India stated that these measures are inconsistent with the global trade norms, and this will provide less favorable treatment to the imported products. And New Delhi also challenged the renewable energy cost recovery incentive payment program of the US by the states, implemented by the state of Washington, for example. Also California's self-generation incentive program, Montana's tax incentive for ethanol production, Michigan's renewable energy credits program, Delaware solar renewable energy credits, and the Made in Minnesota renewable incentive program. These were all violation of the GATT agreement. So, but Americans are free to appeal against this particular verdict, but this appealing appellate body is also dysfunctional because of the Americans or the US refusal for the new appointments in the appellate body in WTO. So that is why Americans may not be able to even appeal against that, because they themselves are disputing the appellate body itself. So that is good news for India. Then, so what next? Now this ruling definitely can be challenged by WTO's appellate body, I already said, but appellate's body, US has already blocked the appointments to the appellate's body, so they may not be going for appeal immediately. And the US has already rolled back export incentives from India under its GSP program. I will come to the GSP program separately. And New Delhi has imposed higher customs duty on 28 American products already. So because of the trade war between India and US which is going on, US has already withdrawn its export incentives from India under its GSP program, and whereas India has withdrawn, or India has imposed higher customs duty on 28 American products. So this tit for tat game is going on. The two countries are already at loggerheads on a number of other issues also in WTO. And the US has challenged certain export promotion schemes in India. And India has challenged USA's unilateral hike in the customs duties on certain steel and aluminum products from India. So, they are questioning, Americans are questioning India's export promotion schemes. India is challenging their hike on customs duty on steel and aluminum products. So, these things are not in a good shape right now because of this tit for tat movement. Now, what are the implications of this judgment? That is the next question everybody wants to ask. First of all, the ruling contains several systemic implications, and it has exposed the illegal measures adopted by the US and its states, and according to some experts. Okay, so it has exposed the legal measures adopted by the US and its states. That is the number one. Number two, it will show the US and its federal states that they are, with the WTO, and it will show that they are inconsistent with the WTO programs on the renewable energy sector. Okay, so they are inconsistent with the WTO programs, and it is against the spirit of the WTO. That is what it is happening. And number three, it is a lesson to the US that it should not undermine renewable energy programs in other countries such as India on grounds that they violate global trade rules, when Washington and its federal states adopting much bigger programs worth billions of dollars that violate global trade rules. They were accusing India of violating the global trade rules when it comes to renewable energy sources earlier. Now we have countered and said that you are also violating. In fact, you are doing a bigger violation than what we are doing. So that way we have exposed the double standards of the US. And in fact, in 2014, US has launched a similar trade dispute against India's Jawaharlal Nehru solar energy mission, on grounds that it included incentives for domestically produced solar cells and modules. Now, at that time also, WTO's appellate body has upheld the US complaint against India in that case. At that time, India lost it. Indian argument, or rather India's incentives for domestic solar cells and modules, the insistence in the Jawaharlal Nehru solar energy mission, at that time India lost it. Now we are countered by saying that you are also doing the same thing, and we have exposed the US in this particular case. So this ruling has provided India the much needed strategic leverage, normally open to the WTO members in a tit for tat trade disputes. So we definitely got a leverage with the US. There is no doubt regarding that. At the same time, when the US is pursuing, at a time when the US is pursuing several trade disputes against India, particularly against the nation's export related schemes, a victory in this renewable energy sector could help India in settling other disputes with Washington in a better way. So we have an upper hand right now, and that is how we are able to counter it. So in 2014, we lost the case in WTO in a similar situation. Now, on a similar ground, the kind of, the special incentives given by 8 American states are against the spirit of WTO and GATT agreement. So we won the case right now. So it is definitely, we can say, in this tit for tat trade dispute, this round has gone in favor of India, and our relationship with the US is not in the best of the interest right now, and the American unilateral action to protect their American industry and American business is definitely hurting the globalization which the Americans preached for many decades to India and all. Now they are into some sort of securing and protectionism, or they have entered into the protectionism which India and China like countries were doing maybe in the 1980s and 1990s. So the reversal of role is happening, and this time we are accusing the US that you are protecting the renewable energy sector, you are doing unfair trade practices to prevent Indian companies from entering into the renewable energy sector, and it is a victory for India in WTO right now.